All right. Welcome to the Last Dance After Show. Shout out to everybody waiting in the wings, waiting in the green room. Josiah, shout out to you. Welcome back, my guy, Danon. As always, great to see you. Tom Littlefield, my brother. How's it going? I'm glad you were able to join tonight, Tom. Parker Hill, good to see you again as well. I have one more shout out to get to. Fortnite MD, you asked me to shout you out. There you go. But you know what? Today, I'm very excited for our after show tonight, guys, because this was the most emotional set of episodes that we have seen from this docuseries. And I teared up multiple times watching tonight. It was really emotional for me. And I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. But let's start first, as always, with some things that happened throughout the week since we last talked, and you know how some things just start, stirring up after the episodes air and all that stuff. We do the live shows right after they air, so there isn't a whole lot of time for things to kind of pop up. But let's go through some of them. Last week, remember, we had Isaiah Thomas tripping, and Craig Elo tripping. But this week, we have Craig Hodges tripping. Now, Craig Hodges, if you don't know who he is, he's this guy right here, Craig Hodges. He was a three-point shooter, came off the bench. I don't believe he played a ton. He actually entered the three-point contest with no team. The NBA just gave him a generic jersey that said NBA on it, and he participated in a three-point contest while he wasn't on a team. And he did that because he was the defending champ. I believe this is him winning it right there. There's the trophy. So he didn't get signed. And then the next year, they're like, well, we have to have the defending champ back. So they brought him out there with the generic jersey. But that is Craig Hodges. He's calling out Michael from last week's, or not last week's episode, but the first episode, I believe, about the cocaine circus that Jordan commented on. And here's what Hodges had to say. He goes, so I'm watching the first episode and I was upset about the cocaine circus. That bothered me because I was thinking about the brothers who are on that picture with you who have to explain to their families who are getting ready to watch this great Michael Jordan documentary event, and they know you're on the team, and now you've got to explain to a 12-year-old boy. Listen, Craig, I get it. I get what you're saying. It is kind of a fraternity. There is a bro code. I get all that. But, I don't know if it'd be genuine to not mention that. The director did ask Jordan about it. They could have cut to it. Jordan could have said no comment. But this is a tell-all documentary, and Jordan has the right, as a guy who experienced that, to say it. Now, I get it. There's a bro code, but don't do drugs. It's simple. I'm not saying you did drugs, Craig, but I'm just saying don't do drugs. It's simple. And I know you're saying you have to explain to a 12-year-old boy. Well, use it as a learning lesson. Say, yeah, I was stupid. I did some things. You shouldn't do it. Not you again, Craig. Just the brothers that were on that photo. It kind of seems like you're a little salty because you were in that photo. Okay, so I don't know who's speaking for who here, but just don't do drugs. Now, what Jordan could have done is given a heads up to those guys like, hey, this is coming out. I just want you guys to be prepared. Because, again, it wouldn't be as genuine if you just didn't comment on that. You know what I mean? So it's better to attack something than to let it pop up later. Because I could see it just now. Like, if the documentary didn't go over the cocaine circus, some reporter would be like, why didn't The Last Dance mention the cocaine circus of the Bulls 80 team? Like, it would happen. And then it would look like Jordan's trying to hide from something, or the documentary's trying to hide from it. So I get why they did it. And also, if you take a look here, he says, and I'm kind of salty how everybody got interviewed but me. So there you go. He's salty. That's why he's calling him out. Here's another piece of news. The Last Dance is averaging 5.8 million viewers across the first 6 episodes. That's big numbers, guys. I don't have much to say about this. It's just pretty funny, or it's pretty interesting to know. The NBA Finals last year averaged around like 15 million viewers. So to put that into perspective, the NBA Finals has 15, and this Jordan documentary, not a live sporting event, a documentary series, is drawing almost 6 million viewers. That's pretty impressive to me. Here's the last thing from last week. The Last Dance interviews, Michael Jordan refused to do them in his own home. So if you're wondering if that was his home or whatever, it's not. He wants it to be private. The director says there are certain aspects of his life that he wants to keep private. He just didn't want people to see all of that. I respected that. So the director never pushed back. So I just think it's a little interesting tidbit there that Jordan isn't getting interviewed in his own home. There's still an aura about him. There's still a huge private life about him, which is pretty cool. But yeah, those are the things I just wanted to recap. Let's get into today's episodes. And yes, by the way, I am wearing a Michael Jordan. It's not like a Birmingham Baron baseball jersey, but it's inspired by it. This was released by Jordan Brand. I think the Jordan 9s had just dropped or something like that. And that's why you see the IX here. And they dropped the whole apparel with the sneakers, and this is one of the things. So I appropriately wore it for tonight's episode because obviously they go through all the baseball stuff with Jordan. But what I want to talk about, the thing that stood out to me the most, like I told you guys, this was a very emotional episode for me. I think it was the most emotional episode of the series so far. And there was a 2-minute span at the end of episode 7, so the first episode tonight, that something just came over me. I was entranced. I was put in a state of like nirvana, hypnosis. I was totally just sucked into this series more than I had ever been before. Now, I just want to say, if you didn't get this feeling during this part of the documentary like I did, that doesn't mean you had bad taste. It doesn't mean you missed something here. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that that particular part of the documentary meant something to me. And I believe everyone who watches The Last Dance is going to have a similar experience. It might have been the last scene that we just saw where Jordan's crying on the ground after winning the championship on Father's Day. You might not have a father and because he died tragically in the past, or you never met your dad, and that might hit home with you. That might have been your 2-minute span where this documentary really struck you in the heart. But for me, the part that struck me the most emotionally was that 2-minute sequence where they're asking, like, is Jordan a nice guy? And Scott Burrell's like, yeah, Jordan's a nice guy off of the court. On the court, he's the killer, but off of the court, you can relax. And then they cut to B.J. Armstrong, who, by the way, is Derrick Rose's agent. So B.J. Armstrong still active in the NBA scene. But they cut to B.J. Armstrong, and B.J. goes, was he a nice guy? And he struggles, and he says, you know, he couldn't have been a nice guy. And then this sequence starts, this 2-minute sequence starts where the music is just ramping up, that orchestral music, that epic, you know, score with highlights of Jordan working hard, you know, crashing on the ground in pain. You could just see the determination, the competitiveness in his eyes. And I'm telling you guys, I was entranced. I was totally sucked in because it was inspiring me so much. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at my notes here. Jordan is explaining through this whole sequence. He says, there's a price to leadership. There's a price to winning. I've never asked my teammates to do something that I never did. That he was saying this. He was saying he understood that there was a price to get to where he wanted to be. And where he wanted to be was at the top. He wanted to win at all costs. You see it every week, every episode. It's the same theme. Jordan wants to win. Some guy slights Jordan, or in the eyes of Jordan, he gets slighted, and Jordan uses that as fuel to destroy his opponent and to get what he wants, which is a victory. Okay? In anything, a basketball win, a gambling win, whatever. He just wants a victory. And to see Jordan explain it with that much passion really struck a chord to me. And then at the end, he says, he tears up, right? And he says, break. Because I forget what he said. I think he said, if you don't want to play like that, then don't play. Get out of my way. He said something to that effect, right? And he's tearing up. Michael Jordan's tearing up, and he says, break. He just can't handle it. He says, break. I need to take a break. And I was tearing up. And I'll tell you why I was tearing up. Because to me, I think this is just, I could be totally wrong, guys. And I would like to get your take on why do you guys think Jordan was tearing up at that moment? Here's my take. And I could be totally wrong. But my take was Jordan, like I said, he understood that there was a price for leadership. He understood that there was a price for winning. Winning has a price. And Jordan paid that price. And to everybody else, the media, his teammates, maybe even his family, Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry Krause, fans, it came off as him being an asshole, him not being a nice guy. And I think that hurts Jordan. I think he tries hard to be a nice guy. He wants to be a normal guy. We saw that when he's wherever he was. Was he in Paris smoking a cigar in his living room? He's like, you guys don't want this life. I wish I could just go outside and, just be a regular guy. Jordan wants to be that, but he's so competitive that it comes off as him being an asshole. And we saw it with Scott Burrell's college teammates, right? The guy in the wheelchair and the other guy, they were in the locker room on the training bed, and Jordan's signing stuff for him, and he's busting their chops a little bit, like, you owe me $1,000, or the UConn's women basketball team's really good. He's busting their chops, but that's bro talk. Bros, we bust we bust each other's balls all the time, right? But at the end of the day, he was being a nice guy. He took photos. He's touching these people, on the shoulder. He's real personable. He's real charismatic, and he's a nice guy. So for Jordan to hear that he's a jerk, a dick, an asshole, from the media, from the Jordan Rules book, to the director asking him, do you think you're a nice guy? Do you think you're an asshole? Or to see BJ Armstrong say he couldn't have been nice, I really think that hurt Jordan. That hurts him because he doesn't want to be mean to, people. He wants to be nice. And we've seen it. Like we've seen people say, like, Jordan knows there's people in the crowd that are never going to see Michael Jordan play again, and he wants to give it his 100%. We saw that in this episode. The trainer talked about it, and I'll get to the trainer in a little bit, but that to me struck such a huge chord with me, because I was like, man, he's a simple man. He just wants to win. And what he wants, he's paying the price. Everyone thinks he's a jerk. Is wanting to win being a jerk? No, he had class. Never once did he, not shake hands with someone or not say, these fans are great. Right after he hit the last shot over Byron Russell in Utah, the first thing he does on the sideline interview is thanks the Utah fans. And he said, you guys have so much class. You guys are great fans. Thanks for making it tough on us. Jordan had class. So for people to say he's a jerk, I think really hurt him. But I would love to know what you guys think. Why do you guys think Jordan was tearing up at that last moment in the first episode tonight? Let's take a look here at the comments in the chat room. Stubbs, welcome back, Stubbs. Good to see you. Says, I think he was tearing up due to the rush of emotions that he got by going through all the memories he shared with his father. Yes, Stubbs, I think so too, but that came... He wasn't really talking about his father at that moment. He was just talking like, I never told my teammates to do something I never did. He was really going through his career from a motivation point of view. He's like, my motivation was to win at all costs. And the director was, I don't know the exact question that the director asked him, but the director was like, it's something about being a nice guy. Did that turn you into not being a nice guy or something like that, something to that effect? And Jordan was like, look, I wanted to win. I don't understand how that has anything to do with me being a nice guy. I think if you look at the evidence, he's nice to his fans. You know what I mean? But when it came to playing basketball, jerk might be the wrong word. He was ruthless. He was a competitor. And here's the thing you guys have to understand. When you walk on a basketball court, don't walk on a basketball court if you're not prepared to lose. Because in basketball, there's always going to be a loser. 5-on-5, 3-on-3, horse, 21, 1-on-1, whatever you're playing, sevens, knockout, there's always going to be a loser, and there's always going to be a winner. So don't walk on that basketball court if you're not ready to lose, okay? Jordan understood this. He didn't want to lose. He wanted to win, and that came off being like a jerk. So if you're going to get your feelings hurt from losing from Jordan, you're in the wrong sport, okay? Let's take a look at the chat. What else do you guys have to say? Miguel says, Jordan's competition was weak compared to the competition that Wilt went against. Are you sure? That's got to be a troll comment, right, Miguel? I don't think that's right. Wilt Chamberlain's competition was stiffer than Jordan's? I don't know. Danon says, people don't need to like you, or he is competitive that other people get liked. Yeah, people don't need to like you. I mean, they don't need to like him, but you do have to respect it, right? He is a winner. He was a master at his craft. He gave it 100% at everything he did, and you have to respect that. And I think if someone says, I don't like Jordan, and they're not saying it from a personal experience, like they didn't, like if they met Jordan and Jordan was a jerk to them, you could say that, I don't like Jordan. But if you've never met Jordan and you say, I don't like Jordan, it's probably because he beat up on your team, and you're looking at it the wrong way, man. There's a winner and there's a loser. You can't hate on Jordan for beating your team. It's basketball. You could hate Jordan for being a jerk if he was a jerk to you. You could hate Jordan for, being a jerk to his teammates, but look at his teammates. That guy, Will Perdue, said, yeah, look, he crossed the line. He was a jerk. Let's not get it twisted. He was an asshole. But looking back, he was a hell of a teammate. Now, notice that he didn't say, I was wrong, he was right back then. He crossed the line. I was wrong about that. He just said he was a hell of a teammate because Jordan understood that he needed to cross their line to raise their line even further, to get them to that next level and keep pushing them. That's the sign of a true competitor and a sign of a leader. Now, it's not the only way to lead, but it's a way to lead, and it worked for Jordan. He's sitting at home with 6 rings, and he's the greatest basketball player of all time. So, Bill Weddington said it worked. He was a jerk, but it worked. Straightway says he teared up because he wants people to think he is misunderstood. Yeah, I get what you're saying here, but I think you might have worded it I would have worded this a different way. I don't think he wants people to think away. I just think that's how he feels. He feels misunderstood, right? Straight away, he feels misunderstood, that he wants to win, and that hurts me because sometimes I could be a jerk. Maximo Fines with the super chat. I'll get to you in a second, my brother. I really, really appreciate it. I'm on a roll here. I want to get this thought out of my head, but I'll get to the super chat in just a second, my man. You're right, straight away. He is misunderstood. I feel misunderstood sometimes. Sometimes I'm a jerk to my girlfriend who's doing the camera, and I'm like, no, you need to get the shot right. Get it in focus. Sometimes I'm a jerk. But I don't want to be mean to her. I just want us to make the best thing that we can make, the best videos that we can make. I want this for not just me, for her as well. I want her to be great at everything she does. And as a kid who grew up without a dad and a single mom who was always working all the time, I didn't have a lot of people to push me. I always pushed myself. And that's why Jordan is my hero. That's why guys like Kobe are my heroes. Allen Iverson, because these guys motivated me when I didn't have a ton of motivation in my life. These guys motivated me. So when Jordan teared up, I teared up because I feel a connection with him there. I feel cursed with perfection. I can't start a new video game without collecting every single item, without getting every single achievement and unlocking every single thing. That's just me. And people see that. And Jordan was a little bit of a jerk where he's like, you think I'm a jerk, but that's because you don't want to win. But here's the reality of it. Some people aren't as competitive as you and I. Some people aren't competitive as Jordan, Kobe, AI. The list goes on and on and on, right? But should we feel like jerks because you're not as competitive as us? I don't think so. Now, we are jerks if we tell you you need to be more competitive. It's just not for everyone. And I would never put that on anyone. If you don't want to be as competitive as me, that's fine. But if you're going to be on my squad, on my team, I'm going to get the best out of you. And that's what Jordan was saying. But like I said, Maximo finds, make competition great again. No second place. Kobe and Jordan compete. Thanks to Jerron Mon. Miss seeing you and Nightwing with the show review. Maximo, I really appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat, $10. Holla, 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 Maximo. You've been a great supporter. You've been a great fan. I can't wait to catch you at the next live stream, my man. Thank you so much. Let me go through the chat a little bit before I get into the next thing I want to talk about. Alex Flores, thanks for joining the chat, Alex, here on the Last Dance After Show. You said he probably was teary-eyed because people thought he was ruthless as he was on the court in real life. It's kind of crazy because he was winning on the court, but versus the media, he lost. Yeah, Alex, the media is undefeated. The media is undefeated with 0 wins. Think about that. The media gets it wrong all the time, but they're undefeated. And the only people who get hurt by the media is who the media is reporting, not the media themselves. And I think reporters, they need to take a look in the mirror and see how much power they really have. And I'm going to get into it when Jordan's dad died, how wrong the media was for doing what they did. But I agree with you, Alex. He was a little teary-eyed because he thought he was ruthless. Imagine just wanting to be known as a good person, as a winner, and you dedicate yourself to being a winner. And at the end of it, everyone says you're an asshole. It's got to hurt. It's got to suck. Let me take a look here. Demarius. Shout out to Demarius. Thanks for joining. I remember you from last week. You said that's facts. Appreciate you, man. Ugly God Jr. says, I understand Jordan's shoes. I understand Jordan. I hate losing people, love calling me a bad sport, but I always come back. I talk trash to my opponents and constructive criticism to my teammates. It's harsh, but I have to win. Yeah, like Jordan said, there's a price to winning. And to pay that price, you might come off as a jerk. But I think people are mixing, being a jerk in competition to what Jordan was actually in real life. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good person in real life, but when it comes to competition, when he stepped on the basketball floor, he was ruthless. But let's move on to the thing that I noticed in episode 7, which was the baseball saga, I guess we could call it. Jordan retires, he goes to play baseball. We all know the story. But what interests me was the trainer said, he went up to Jordan and was like, look, it's going to be a totally different workout. We're going to have to train your body and build your body in a completely different way, and it's going to suck. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough. And Jordan said, I'm all in. This is what I want to do 100%. They didn't really say why it's so different. Like, I want to know, what's the difference between peak basketball shape and peak baseball shape? Now, I know Jordan did kind of mention it later in episode 8, where he's talking about his return to basketball, and he's like, basketball is a little more chest and a little more shoulders. But I wanted to get more in depth with that because I've always thought, as a basketball fan, that's my favorite sport, I've always thought basketball had the best athletes. You know what I mean? Because basketball is in my opinion, as a basketball fan, remember I'm biased, basketball is the best balance between athleticism and skill. You have to be athletic. You have to be tall. You have to have those physicals, the speed, the quickness, the vertical, right? But then you have to have skill. You're putting a basketball in a little tiny hole, and you're dribbling and you're passing, and you got to have the right amount of juice on the ball to get it to your teammate, all of that stuff. So to me, basketball has always been the most balanced sport. So it was interesting for me to see, these people in this tonight's documentary say that, being in baseball shape is totally different. Then when he came back, you could tell he wasn't himself. So does that mean you have to be in more shape for basketball, or is it just a different kind of shape? And if so, what's different? What's baseball shape? What's the difference between baseball shape and being in basketball shape? If anyone plays baseball, I'd love to know. I played t-ball. or coach pitch. I got up to coach pitch, but that's about it. But I would like to know, because I've always felt like LeBron would be like one of the best tight ends, right? If he went to the NFL, or he'd at least be a tight end. You know what I mean? But Julio Jones can't come to the NBA and be a guard. At least I don't think. But again, I'm a completely biased basketball fan, so that's just my perspective on things. But Stubbs says, arms and forearm strength, less running. Yeah, so Stubbs, you're right. In baseball, you would need arms and forearm strength and hand strength, right? You don't need soft hands. You need tough hands because you're catching the ball, you're throwing it a long distance, you're holding the bat, and less running. You're right. There is less running in baseball. So yeah, I think it's just a different type of condition. I don't think one's more athletic than the other, but I will say, I think basketball is, I don't want to say the most difficult sport, but it's just the most balanced to me. I've always saw it as the most balanced sport out there. Oh, Brian 12-ish, thanks so much, man, for joining the stream. It's good to hear from you, Brian. He says basketball is more cardio, but baseball requires insane bursts of activity. As a huge baseball fan, it was kind of disappointing that he wasn't able to stick around longer. Yeah, Brian, that's a great point. Thanks for your insight. I'm not a huge baseball fan. I do watch in fall when the playoffs are happening. I love playoff baseball. I think there's a certain intensity that's very unique about playoff baseball. But again, I don't know too much about it, so it's great to have your perspective. And to your point that it's kind of disappointing that he wasn't able to stick around longer, I want to ask you guys, had Jordan stayed in baseball longer, would he have eventually made it to the MLB? Let me know in the chat right now, because I think there's no doubt in my mind he would have made it. Jordan was too determined. He's a fantastic athlete, and he committed himself 100%. We saw that clip with him and the batting coach where he's like, what time you want to start batting in the cage tomorrow? And the guy's like, 7:30. And Jordan says, I'll be there. No hesitation. Like he committed himself. So I do think eventually he would have made it to the MLB. How good he would have been in the MLB, I don't know. Would he have been an all-star? How does all-star working vote in baseball? Could Jordan have made it off a fan vote, like how Yao Ming made it all those years, or like how Zaza Pachulia almost made it? I don't know, but I don't know how good he would have been, but I know he would have made it. No doubt in my mind. Had Jordan stuck around, he would have made it for sure. Let's see what you guys have to say here. Because I asked you guys if you think he would have made the MLB. Brian says he's got a fun fact for us. Jordan had the record for most outfield errors in AA baseball in the full year that he played, but he was definitely improving. That is a fun fact. So he basically had like the most turnovers, if we're translating this to basketball terminology, right? He led the league in turnovers. Interesting. But he definitely was improving, right? He shot, or he didn't shoot. He hit 202, right? A batting average, which I guess is like, I don't know. Is that good? I don't think that's good. I think like high 250 is good, right? But 202 is like something at least, you know? I don't know. Again, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I do think it was interesting that he couldn't hit a breaking ball. What is a breaking ball? I think a breaking ball goes up and then it just sinks right out of the strike zone, and Jordan was swinging at it every time. I think that's what a breaking ball is. But yeah, very interesting. The baseball era for Jordan was very, very weird. And to the point of the Sports Illustrated cover where it says, Jordan is embarrassing baseball, it just made me realize that media doesn't understand competitors, which is odd to me because it's their job to understand athletes and sport, but they don't understand what's driving Jordan. Like for them to say that Jordan's embarrassing baseball, it's like, you don't understand, man. Yeah, he sucks now, but why would Jordan, as a competitor, a guy who gave everything to the game of basketball, his dedication, did Jordan ever cheat basketball? Never. He always showed up for workouts. He got better. He got stronger. He was dedicated. So for Sports Illustrated to say that he's embarrassing baseball, you don't understand. It just shows me you don't understand Michael Jordan and what drives him, because he's not good now, but He's not embarrassing it. Embarrassing it would be not going to workouts, just thinking that you could get on a team because your name is Michael Jordan. That's embarrassing baseball. And that's what they were insinuating. And that's why Michael Jordan was angry at Sports Illustrated for saying that, because it couldn't be anything further from the truth. So Sports Illustrated, not looking good after episode 7 tonight. Brian 12 says 202 is not good, but good for the situation. Also, a breaking ball is a pitch that takes a hard dip at the end of its trajectory. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, that's what I thought. It takes a hard dip. I wonder how you throw a breaking ball. Man, baseball, I respect baseball. I don't play it. It's not one of those things. Let's see. Does anyone have an opinion on whether he would have made it into the MLB? Let's take a look here in the comments. Danon says, if he stayed in basketball, 8 rings or fatigue. Yeah, it would be interesting to see if he could do 4 straight or 5 or however long it was. But I've always wanted to know what Jordan's Bulls would have done against Hakeem's Rockets, because we saw when Jordan came back, they couldn't really handle Shaq and Horace. They didn't have a rebounder. Would they have re-signed Horace? It's a huge what if, and it's a rabbit hole I'm not sure I want to go down. But Alex says, a real competitor isn't always about winning. Sometimes I feel like being competitive is more about not giving up in a tougher situation. Yeah, good point, Alex. You don't got to win, but for most competitors, the end goal is to win. You might not win tonight, but the goal is to eventually win and not back down from a tough situation. So, you're right, Alex, but the end goal is always to win or to achieve a certain level. You know what I mean? And everybody's levels are different. It just so happened that Jordan's was at the highest level it could possibly be. Josiah, man, thanks so much for joining the chat. I really appreciate it. You say, I agree, Dramon. He wouldn't have even tried if he embarrassed baseball. The true embarrassment is Sports Illustrated twisting the story without even interviewing him. Yeah, man. That's why Jordan never talked to SI ever again, because it attacked his character. It attacked his philosophies, everything he stood for as a person. It felt like a personal attack. So I can understand why Jordan never talked to Sports Illustrated again. But shame on Sports Illustrated for doing that. I bet they like to have that one back for sure. Let's talk about his retirement and his father's passing away. I watched this with my girlfriend who knew Jordan's dad died, but she didn't know he was murdered. And it's crazy. And I'm glad that they didn't go into the rabbit hole of the conspiracies surrounding Jordan's father's death. They touched on it with the media, and they blamed the media for reporting. And it was a real shot at the media, because the media was essentially blaming or insinuating Jordan might have had been involved in his dad's death in some way, like his gambling. I don't know. I don't want to mention the conspiracy theories out there, because in this documentary, it just kind of reaffirmed to me that it's all BS. And it was, the chief of police said, it was just greed and aggression. Michael Jordan's dad could have been any one of us. It just so happened to be Michael Jordan's dad. But how crappy is the media coming out from this docuseries? I mean, it seems like every episode, Jordan is attacking the media. And I think when you ask the question why Jordan retired that first time, I think it's not just one thing, right? It's not just his dad's death. It's not just the fact that he was exhausted physically. It's not the fact that he was exhausted mentally from the media. It's all of those facts, right? All of those combined led him to retire. I just think that the passing of his father was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the one thing that finally broke him and said, yeah, I want to retire and I want to go play baseball. And Jordan said that people got tired of him being on top, which is why the media was attacking him, which I thought that was an interesting comment, because it's like, for Jordan to say that he thinks people were blaming him for the death of his father because he was on top. I don't know. I think he kind of dodged the gambling thing. He's using that as an excuse, but there could be some truth to that. I just thought that was a very interesting comment that Jordan made there. Now, another thing I saw from this doc was Phil Jackson, when he got the news that Jordan was retiring, he said, I think you're denying a great gift to society, but I understand. I thought that was an interesting thing to say, where Phil Jackson was essentially saying, like, you have this great gift that you could be giving to society, and you're going to deprive them from that. What exactly does Jordan owe us? He already dedicated himself to basketball, and he gave us 100% every time he stepped out there on the floor. We've seen that. He said that. Other people have said that on his behalf. So for Jackson to say that, I thought was interesting at that point of time. He sounded like a coach who didn't want to lose his best player, which doesn't totally sound like a Phil Jackson motive, but for him to say that you're denying a gift to society is just that's kind of weird with me. Straightaways in the stat says, I disagree with Jordan. The media was attacking him because he was living foul outside basketball. That's what I was trying to say straight away. I think Jordan was using that excuse as an excuse, and he was kind of shying away from why the media did that. But at the same time, the media was reporting without any evidence. It was pure speculation, and I get it. Sometimes reporting can be that, even though the definition of reporting shouldn't be speculation. But yeah, I agree with you there, man. It's just a messy situation, the whole thing. His dad died. Jordan gambled. Is there a connection? I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I guess possibly it could happen. Maybe just might have been connected. Like 0.0, it's not impossible, but that doesn't mean it is, It is what it is, and it ain't when it ain't. And the matter of fact is, we don't know. We have no idea. Stubbs in the chat says, I think the stress of the media had taken a toll on his mental after being on top of the world and having his character attacked after his gambling addiction came out. Alex says, making Jordan feel guilty after his dad died, what a low blow. That's what I'm getting at, Alex. Right after his dad died, without evidence? If you had evidence, report it. Report it whenever you want. But if you don't have evidence and it's just speculation, let Jordan mourn a little bit. And then you could put out that speculative report. You know what I mean? But if it's evidence, you shouldn't ignore the evidence. But there was no evidence. So it was a low blow, in my opinion. But what's new? The media is the media, man. It's a bummer, but it is what it is, I guess. Let's see here. What else do I have in my notes? Oh, the suspension theory. Now, I'm a little surprised that this documentary attacked the suspension theory, but they didn't really give both sides to it. They just said, no, that's BS. It's bogus. Why would this happen? No way, no how. It's not true. And I have to say, I think it is not true. I don't think the league suspended Jordan and he had to retire. I don't think so. If you don't know the theory is the gambling, all that stuff led David Stern to punish Jordan, but he didn't want to publicly do it. So he told Jordan to retire and then he could come back in a year. That's the theory. So Jordan didn't retire on his own behalf. He essentially got suspended for a year. Now, here's something you may not know. Let me take a sip. I think this suspension theory is not true. However, this is a known fact. Bill Simmons on one of his latest podcasts said that it's a fact that when Allen Iverson dropped his rap album in whatever year that was, David Stern was really mad because of the lyrics. He was really mad. So he called Iverson into his office. And this is a fact. David Stern told Allen Iverson that he would suspend him if he's not careful. And quote, You saw what I did to Jordan. So the conspiracy theorists use that fact to say, hey, see, Stern did suspend Jordan. However, I think Stern did say that to AI because he did, but he used the myth as leverage. He used it like in his favor. He didn't actually suspend Jordan, but he used the idea that he suspended Jordan to Allen Iverson to scare him. Because it is crazy. Why would Stern suspend the most popular player in the league? And at the time Allen Iverson dropped his album, you could argue he was the most popular player in the league. So Allen Iverson's walking into David Stern's office like, he's not going to suspend me. I make so much money for the league. I'm the most popular player. He wouldn't do this. So Stern uses the myth and says, hey, I suspended. He essentially saying or alluding to the fact that he suspended Jordan for a year. AI sitting there like, oh my gosh, I better behave. You know what I mean? But I don't think the suspension theory is true at all. There's no way. I think Jordan retired, and we saw it. That one guy said that Jordan told him a year earlier in Barcelona that he was going to retire and go play baseball, and he would do it right now had he not been in a three-peat situation. Had he not been in the Olympics, he would have been playing baseball. So there you guys have it. Straightaway says the league had no choice, but they hit it because it would have crippled the league financially. Well, it already did cripple the league financially. The league value did go down. Each franchise, the league value went down because there was no Jordan. So I don't know if Straightaway you believe in the theory or not, or the conspiracy, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Nathan Tran says, if Jordan was suspended, you would think someone would have said something by now. It's been 25 years. Yeah, you would think someone would say something by now, but they don't have to say anything. If someone has a secret, they don't have to say anything. Just because nothing has been said doesn't mean it isn't true. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. Probably something would have leaked, but it is possible that something didn't leak. And if only two people truly know, if only David Stern and Jordan know if he got suspended, let's just say that Jordan did get suspended. Jordan and Stern might be the only people who know that. And if those two guys can definitely keep a secret. Jordan can and Stern can. But you would think Jordan would say in this documentary if that was true or not, or maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely interesting that people think Jordan got suspended. It's weird. Ugly God Jr. says player works their asses off just to get told that they can't do something because the NBA. Imagine. What do you mean, Ugly God? Reword that. Straightaway says, you too young, bro. The league was super popular then. The value was sky high. Well, in the documentary, I may be too young because I wasn't totally coherent in 93. I was 1 year old. Didn't the guy say all the franchise's values went down after Jordan retired? So I don't know. I mean, we could look up the facts. I don't even know how to look that up, but yeah, you're right, Straightaway. It was sky high when Jordan was playing. But if there's no Jordan, you got to imagine the value goes down. Straightaway says, remember, the league was about to tank in the late 70s. If Magic and Bird doesn't come to the league, the NBA might not have made it. Yeah, you're right, but this has nothing to do with Jordan. You're absolutely right. The league was about to tank. It was all on tape delay, the championship games. And Magic and Bird essentially saved the league. That and the dunk, in my opinion. Interesting. Okay, let's move on here. Let's see. For episode 7, is there anything else I want to talk about? Yes. The Scottie Pippen playoff game moment when Jordan was retired and Phil Jackson called up a play for Tony Kukoc, which ended up working, right? We see it. It ended up working. It's a beautiful play, kind of an over-the-top, put the ball where only Kukoc could grab it. Kukoc turns around and still hits a pretty tough jumper, but he hit a shot like that earlier. Jackson knew he could hit that shot, and it was a great piece of coaching by Phil Jackson. And let's be honest, who's a better shooter, Scottie Pippen or Tony Kukoc? I didn't say who's a better player. I said who's a better shooter. Probably Tony Kukoc, and he did hit a lot of game winners as we saw throughout that season, or a lot of last-second shots. So Phil Jackson probably drew up the right play. He actually did drew up the right play because they won the game. But here's what I found interesting here. Pippen was hot, right? He didn't come in. He said he's out. And that obviously was a very weird situation. That is what the difference is between Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Because Kukoc hits the shot, and is Pippen out there hugging Tony Kukoc and celebrating with his team? No, he's not. He's not. And remember what I said on our first live stream, guys, on our first after show. I said that story about Jordan getting injured and coming back on the minutes restriction and him hitting his minute restriction in one game and having to sit out for the last shot. And he was like, no, you need to put me in, but the coach wouldn't do it because the coach would lose his job. Remember this story, guys? And then Paxson hits the game-winning shot, and Jordan is out there celebrating with his teammates. That's the sign of a true competitor, a true winner, a guy who truly wants to win. Not win with the glory, not win because he hit the last shot, but win because he's a winner. Scottie Pippen, that's what separates Pippen and Jordan. Pippen wasn't being like Jordan when Paxson hits that game winner. That's the difference. And I really thought it was interesting that Pippen says if he could go back and change it, he wouldn't. Why did he say that? Why did Pippen say, I wouldn't have changed it? Maybe it was because some good things came out of it. He needed to go through that to realize that he wasn't bigger than the game, that this is a team sport, that he does need to be a better teammate and stuff like that. But the odd thing was he was already a great teammate, and Steve Kerr said it. We knew this wasn't Scottie. Like, this is so out of character for him, and we knew it was going to tarnish his legacy, and it shouldn't because he's a great guy, but he did what he did, and Jordan said he's never going to live this down, and in a way, he hasn't lived it down. I mean, that was a real bad look for Scottie Pippen. I think if I was him, I would have said I would have changed. I would have handled it differently if I could go back and do it. But I guess I understand why he says he wouldn't change it because some good things came out of it. Maybe he needed to be told that he was acting like an asshole. You know what I mean? Maybe he needed that because he certainly did get told that by a lot of people, including Bill Cartwright. I mean, Bill Cartwright is in his ear on the bench as it's happening in real time. He's like, I don't know what he's saying. I would love to know what he was saying to him. I hope the director asked Bill Cartwright that when he was interviewing him, and Bill forgot because if they cut that from this, that would be, I don't know. If I was the director, I would have added that in. Hopefully he did ask that question. Let's take a look at the chat for your guys' reaction on this Pippen situation. Josiah says, I lost my freaking mind. How could Scottie do that to his team in a playoff game? Yeah, it's tough. I've actually had this happen to me. I don't think it was in a playoff game in my rec league, but one of my teammates got subbed out, and he felt like he could have been there. And my teammate actually undressed on the sideline and got into street clothes, but then stayed on the bench for the end of the game. And I told him, I was like, man, you can't do that, bro. If you really feel like you need to be in the game, come talk to me, and I'll sub myself out for you. But don't you ever do that to us again. But I feel you, Josiah. I mean, it was crazy. How could he ever do that to him in a playoff game? That's the difference. Scottie didn't want to win. Scottie wanted to win the game. Scottie didn't want the Bulls to win. Scottie wanted Scottie to win. And that's the difference between Jordan and Scottie. Like I just said, guys. Because again, Jordan was celebrating when Paxson hit the game winner. Was Scottie celebrating when Kukoc hit the game winner, which, by the way, was a great game winner? No, he was not. He probably went straight to the locker room. It's tough. Ugly God Jr. says Pippen was tired of being in the Jordan spotlight. He wanted to be his own man. I get it, bro. But guess what? Jordan, I mean, look, Phil Jackson would have called the last play for Jordan. But Phil Jackson knew Pippen's not Jordan. So that's why he didn't call the last play for him, right? Now, if you're on Pippen's side, you're saying, oh, Jackson would have never called up a play for Kukoc if Jordan was in the game. Yes, but he's Michael fucking Jordan. It's different. Yeah, you call a play for Michael Jordan. Calling a play for Scottie Pippen, maybe, if the matchup's good. If he's hot that night, yeah. If he's the best option, but I don't think he was the best option in that situation because Scottie was a facilitator. He wasn't a shot creator. He wasn't a shot maker. He made a lot of shots, but he wasn't a shot maker. Tony Kukoc, like I just said, he hit a lot of last-second shots in that season. So I do think that was the right play. And for Pippen to be, I get what you're saying, Ugly God. Pippen wanted to be his own man, but how about being your own man by winning and being out there on the floor helping your team win? But he wasn't. He wasn't out there because he didn't get the ball. And that's a sign. That's bad judgment by Scottie. I mean, Scottie was wrong there. He was wrong. Straightaway says, it was perceived that Kukoc was being given the keys to the franchise and Pippen was being underpaid and underappreciated. Yes, straightaway. You have a good point here. Scottie probably was like, what the hell? I'm better than this guy, which he was. Scottie was a better player. But was Scottie the best option in that situation straight away? I would love to hear what you think about that because I don't think he was. I mean, is there a Scottie Pippen buzzer beater? What happens if I type that in? Let's see what happens if I type in Scottie Pippen buzzer beater. A 2K video, great. It's not even, that's the first video that comes up, guys. It's a 2K video. Let's see, game winner. Scottie Pippen game winner. It's not looking good, guys. Scottie hits the go-ahead 3 to win some game. Let's see what this is about. Okay. Oh, this is when he was in Portland. Okay, interesting. I don't think I've seen this. And what is this? Is this game 5 against the Jazz? Okay, so it's in the playoffs. Where's the Pippen shot? Here it is, right here. Oh no, he grabs the rebound and they win the game. Where's the go-ahead shot? Is it in the beginning? Here it is. Pippen hits a 3. Boom. That's a clutch shot. That's a clutch shot. But that was after the fact. So, I don't know. Was Pippen the best? Let's see. Straightaway says, Pippen led that team in scoring, assists, and steals. Scottie hit many game winners. Hey, straightaway. It's not looking good. I just looked it up. Where's Scottie Pippen's game winners? Pippen had no problem being in Jordan's shadow. Pippen had a problem with the Bulls treating Kukoc better than him. Were they treating him better than him? You're only saying this in a vacuum because Phil Jackson called that play for him, and Scottie took that like, oh, he's getting paid. They're treating him better. Listen, Scottie signed that contract, baby. That long-term, he signed that bad deal. And I don't know what Kukoc's contract looked like at that moment, if it was better than Pippen's or whatnot. But I will say that I wouldn't be surprised if Kukoc was getting paid more than Pippen because Kukoc probably saw the Pippen deal and was like, that's awful. I'm never letting that happen to me ever. Okay, so listen, Scottie was wrong here. There's no way Scottie was right here. No way, especially because the play worked. Okay? Now, Scottie could have been the guy passing him the ball, and everyone could have been saying, what a great play by Scottie Pippen, getting his teammate the open shot. But no, he wasn't. He was on the bench, pissed off, and it was wrong. There's no way. So, straight away saying, Kukoc made 6, Scottie made 2. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Because Kukoc's agent probably was like, we're not getting Pippened. We're not signing that. No way. I have no issues with Phil's call, but you have to understand everything was going on in Chicago at the time. Kukoc was clutch. I understand everything that was going on in Chicago at the time, but guess what? If Phil Jackson calls a play for Scottie Pippen and he misses the shot, Scotty's not the man. Look, they won the game. They won the game. I think Scotty was wrong here. There's no way Scotty was right in this situation. I cannot be swayed from this. But I understand his thought process. I get it. I get what Pippen was angry about. I get it. But he was being angry for selfish reasons, man. Now, here's the thing. If Scotty goes out there on the floor and runs the play field runs and it doesn't work, then he has a point. But he didn't give his teammates the liberty of finding that out. He didn't give, and that's what's being part of a team. That's what it means to be part of a team. Trusting your teammates. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We switch it up next time. Then you could maybe say, I told you so. That might not be the best way to do it. You might want to say, hey, we'll get him next time. Next time we'll do it differently. We'll get him next time. But Scotty didn't even give that a chance. He just sat on the bench. He quit. He quit on his team. It's tough. And then they lost the series. You're right. But they really would have been in hot water had they lost that game. Ed says, yeah, Scotty agreed on his contract. It's his fault. I mean, I don't know if it's his fault. I understand why he signed the contract. The Bulls could have offered him more, but Scotty wanted a long-term contract. It was probably really tough negotiating with Scottie Pippen. Scotty wanted to get paid and have a long-term contract. He wanted a lot of money for a lot of years, and the Bulls were like, we'll give you a lot of years at a lower rate. And Scotty took it because Scotty wanted that financial security, as we saw. What was that, episode 3 and 4? Or was that episodes? I think it was episodes 3 and 4. Might have been the first 2 episodes, actually. Josiah says, maybe he felt as the best player on the team at the time, he deserved to shoot that shot. Yeah, I get it. But to not check in the game, it's pretty bad. You got to at least check into the game. I get it, you're angry. You're angry with that. You're angry with the play call. But, he didn't even check in the game. He just quit. He just sat on the bench. It's not a good look. All right, let's move on to episode 8, guys. Let's talk about the LaBradford Smith game. That LaBradford Smith had a great game or something. He scored 37 points, and he told Michael, or he told MJ, like, nice game, Mike. And somehow Mike took this as a slight. And the next time they played the Wizards, Jordan scored 36 points in the first half. I mean, how hilarious is this, guys? I mean, it's a reoccurring theme throughout this whole docuseries. Jordan takes a little nugget, even though it may not even be something like, hey, nice game, Mike. Now, it's interesting. We didn't hear how LaBradford Smith said nice game. Did he say like it condescending? Or was it like genuine? Was it like, hey, man, nice game, Mike? It was good to play against you. We don't know that. All we know is he said, nice game, Mike. And the next game, Jordan put a whooping on that boy's ass. 36 in the first half. That's crazy. And B.J. Armstrong said before the game, Jordan said he was going to score as much as that guy had in the first half. He said that. Jordan went out there and did it. The will, the mind power that Jordan had is on a different level. And I would not be surprised if Jordan had an extra freaking piece of his brain that not many other people have that allowed him to do all this crazy stuff where he's like, he says, I'm going to do this. And he goes out there and he does it. I mean, how difficult was that? I mean, he dropped 37 on his head. That's right, Josiah. Straightaway is asking, did you hear the fact that at the end Jordan made that up? LaBradford said that. Did they say that? At the end? I didn't see that straightaway. In the documentary, you mean? That LaBradford didn't say nice game, Mike? He just made that up? I wouldn't be surprised. But so Brian is saying, yeah, I thought Mike admitted to not saying that. He just made it up to motivate himself. Absolutely. You know who else made something up to motivate himself? Shaq. Remember that story where Shaq said David Robinson denied Shaq an autograph when he was a kid or something like that? And Shaq used that as motivation, but in reality, that never happened. Shaq later admitted that he made that up. I mean, that's just something a competitor does. They make stuff up in their mind to rev themselves up. So I don't know. Maybe we're all living in Michael Jordan's dream world, and all of those stuff, all that stuff that Jordan said motivated him, never really happened. Who knows? I mean, we'll never know. I just thought it was funny that, LeBradford scored 37 and then Jordan scores 36 in the first half. I mean, it's crazy. Let's talk about the Orlando series. Now, they did kind of touch on it in tonight's episode that this Bulls team was a bad, not as good team as the previous season. They kind of go over it, but I mean, they were a really bad team. I mean, let's take a look here, guys. What was that? The 1994-95 Chicago Bulls, right? Let's take a look at this roster. All right, let me zoom this in for you guys. All right, get these ads out the way. All right, B.J. Armstrong, Corey Blunt, Judd Bushler, JoJo English, Greg Foster, Ron Harper, the head MJ, Steve, Larry O, Christo Kowak, Tony Kukoc, Luke Longy, Pete Myers, Will Perdue, Scottie Pippen, Dickie Simpkins, and Bill Wennington. Yeah, this is not a good team. Like they said in the doc, they were missing a rebounder, and I believe they were, what was their record here? 47-35. They finished third. But I think when Jordan came back, weren't they close to like 500 or something like that? Correct me if I'm wrong. But straight away saying they got killed on the board after they lost Horace Grant. Yeah, I've always thought the best Bulls team was like the 93 team. I think the 93 team was like the best Bulls team. I know the 96 team won 72 games, but the league expanded. It was diluted. There wasn't like a true competitor to go against Jordan. There wasn't a beta to Jordan's alpha, and that's why they won 72 games. I mean, I think that was Toronto's first year, right? Toronto and Vancouver really diluted the talent pool, and that's how they won 72 games. Straight away says the Bulls were 34-31 when Jordan came back. Yeah, so they were like barely over 500. They weren't a good team. So I think when people say that this Orlando series that year doesn't count for Jordan, he still went to 6 straight finals. I mean, I get it. I mean, he came back in the middle of the season to a not so good team, and Orlando was a bad matchup. I think the question is, if Jordan was in peak basketball shape, because like we talked about earlier, Jordan said he wasn't in basketball shape, he was in baseball shape. If Jordan, let me know what you guys think. If Jordan was in basketball shape, would they have won the Bulls series? I think it's a good question because I'm not so sure, because that Magic team was a bad matchup for them. I mean, Horace Grant was on that squad. They had Penny Hardaway and Shaq. Now, they did a decent job at guarding Shaq. They kind of figured him out. In the middle of the series, they chipped him on the block and stuff like that. And they couldn't really get the ball to Shaq in the post. This is all on the Ryan Russillo podcast where they were saying like, yeah, no one could throw an entry pass on the Magic. You know what I mean? I don't think they win that series. I mean, it's a tough series. Now, the next time they played them in the playoffs, they got swept. They got swept. And the Magic essentially had the same team, except Nick Anderson was not the same player. Remember, Nick Anderson in the finals missed those free throws, and he was really never the same after that. Really wasn't. He couldn't make free throws. He couldn't make threes after that. It was really weird. It kind of mentally broke him, which is one of the more tragic things that have ever happened in the NBA. But I don't think the Bulls would have beat Orlando. But let me know what you guys think. I'm going to take a look at the chat here. Straight away says no. Nope. He says nope, they're not going to win. Ugly God Jr. says it's hard carrying a trash team. I tried it. Jordan tried it. Dan says Orlando had loads of talent on that team. Yeah. pull up the Magic roster. Let's do it. What was that? The right here. Here's the Magic. Yeah, they were stacked, bro. Penny Hardaway, Shaq, Horace Grant, Daryl Armstrong, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, Brian Shaw. I remember Donald Royal. Yeah, I mean, they were stacked, bro. Tree Hollins, oh my God. Yeah, they were stacked. Yeah, I don't think the Bulls win even with this Bulls roster. I don't think they win. But as we know, they do win the next season with Dennis Rodman in the lineup. So there's that. But that Bulls roster, I don't think they win. I don't. What should we talk about next? Oh, and also I want to mention that season was weird, right? He hadn't played with a lot of those guys on that Bulls team. And wasn't that their first year in the United Center? Right? Their first year in the United Center. So it was all really foreign to Jordan. It wasn't very comfortable to him. You know what I mean? New arena, new teammates, new body. It would have been very impressive if he did pull off that series, but he didn't, and I'm not surprised by it. Let's see here. What should we talk about next? Oh, well, I love that little anecdote that the trainer's like, hey, Mike, I'm going to get out of here. Just call me when you want to see you next. And Jordan says, I'll see you tomorrow. I mean, that's like goosebumps. That's like goosebumps, right? Like, hey, tomorrow. I just lost. We're working out tomorrow. Like, damn. And that trainer, he's been great. The trainer has been great. What is that guy's name? If you guys could help me out in the chat. But that trainer is great because you could really tell that training Michael Jordan pushed him to be the best trainer, pushed him to live his life 100% like Jordan did because he saw how Jordan committed. And so I think this trainer has been great. He's a great interview, no doubt. Stubbs, we talked about how he debuted the Jordan 11s last week on last week's after show. But you're right, Stubbs. He did debut the Jordan 11s in that Orlando series. He wore the Concord colorway. All right, the next story I want to talk about is, well, I mean, we could talk about the Steve Kerr story, which I thought was interesting. I mean, we all know that story. That story has been told a ton of times. But one thing that I think wasn't told was Jordan saying, you know, I was in the shower and I just beat up on the littlest guy on the court, and he felt this small. Like, he felt so small for doing that. And it was instant regret from him that he punched Steve Kerr. And then Steve goes on to say, I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me and Michael's relationship, that I stood up to him because our relationship going forward was much, much better. So, I mean, that's a story. I don't want to talk about it too much because, like I said, that story has been told a ton of times. But, yeah, it's always good to hear it again because it's an epic story. It's crazy. Steve Kerr went at Jordan and Jordan punched him in the face. Crazy. It's a crazy story. Brian says the trainer getting emotional was dope. Absolutely, man. Just the trainer getting emotional. And the way he got emotional, Brian, was like, he goes, Jordan tells me I'll see you tomorrow. And you could just see his eyes welling up. And he's just like, man, Jordan inspired me, dude. Like he's inspired me. Like he's inspired you watching this stream. He's inspired all of us. And whether he's a jerk or not, in person, in his private life, I really don't care because what he did on the court is enough for me. He inspired me. And even if Jordan was a jerk to me in real life, I'd be like, you know what? I get it. I'm just some dude. He's Michael Jordan. That's not nice of you, but your dedication to your craft is what inspired me. Not the fact that you donate to charity. Not the fact that you sign every autograph. Not the fact that you take every photo. That's not what makes Jordan special to me. What makes Jordan special to me was what he did on the court and how he committed himself for the love of basketball to his craft. That's what's inspired me about him. And I think that's something that the trainer saw every day when he was working out. how committed he was to his life, to his craft. They always talk about MJ punching Kerr, but I never heard that Kerr punched him in the chest first. Brian, was it a punch to the chest? I thought it was an elbow or something like that. But you're right. Kerr did technically strike first, and Jordan kind of retaliated, which is crazy to hear. Straightaway coming in hot, saying Jordan tried to fight Kerr in the next practice too. Interesting. Where are you getting all of this? You might be right. Let me research this. Jordan tried to fight Kerr next practice. I never know what to Google. Steve Kerr says Michael Jordan apologized shortly after. Let me just show you guys what I'm looking at here. He called me later that day and apologized. Blah, blah, blah. Never talked about it again. Yeah, I'm not getting it here. I don't know straight away where you got that from, but maybe that might be true. Oh, Josiah says the trainer, Tim Grover. Yes, Tim Grover. Thank you, Josiah. Thank you so much. Yeah, Tim Grover's coming off great in this series. Absolutely. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about, episode 8, and then after this, we're going to talk about the shoe for today's episode. But I want to talk about the Sonic series. The Sonic series really made me realize how funny life is. Funny how life works. Because George Karl doesn't put Gary Payton on Michael Jordan to start the series, the first 3 games, right? He doesn't put Payton on Jordan. And it makes sense, right? He wanted to save Gary on offense. You know what I mean? Which there's logic behind it, but I don't know if that was the right move because, I mean, I get it. Carl's like, Jordan's, no matter who I put on Jordan, Jordan's going to do what Jordan does. So I might as well save Gary on offense so we could get more points that way. But that was a pretty potent offense, if I remember correctly. Wasn't Nate McMillan on that team? I need to look this up. 1996 Sonics. Let's look up the roster, guys. Here we go. They had some, Hershey Hawkins was a scorer, I believe, on that team. Nate McMillan, Sam Perkins, and they had Detlef Schrempf. Yeah, let me take a look at their points per game. Let's look at the playoffs, actually. Playoffs points per game. Yeah, Gary Payton was 20. Detlef had 16. Kemp had 20. Hershey had 12. Perkins had 12. Yeah, so I don't know if they were lacking in offense here. So, yeah, I don't know if that was the right move by George Karl to not put Payton on Jordan because he definitely made things tougher on Jordan, even though Jordan was, like, laughing at the iPad that Gary Payton was, like, basically like, yeah, I made it tough on Jordan, man. I played him good. Jordan had a tough time with me. And Jordan's just like, no, I had no problem with the glove. What else was he supposed to say? But what I thought was interesting is, though, George Karl puts him on Jordan in game 4, and it's not a sweep, right? And that allows Jordan and the Bulls to win the series on Father's Day. Think about that. Think about how funny life works, man. They might have swept him if Payton wasn't put on Jordan. Now, I know that sounds like me admitting that Payton was really good on Jordan, and I just had got done saying I don't think so, but he definitely made it tougher. But it's funny how life works where, hey, it might be a sweep, but no, they switch one thing, and that extends the series to allow Jordan to have this iconic moment where he wins the championship on Father's Day. And that's, of course, when we get the iconic moment of him crying on the training room floor just uncontrollably. It's funny how life works, guys, right? It's crazy. Brian says, I love those Sonic teams. Such a shame they got punked like that by MJ and the guys. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Those are great Sonics teams. And I love those uniforms. That color scheme was I don't know. It's just so cool. It's got the green with the dark red, the yellow. I like those Sonics teams as well. Gary Payton, one of my favorite players of all time. I have a signed Gary Payton Lakers jersey. So I got to meet Gary in person, and I told him that I've had this jersey since I was a kid, and he signed it for me. So that's pretty cool. I wish I could bring it up to you guys, but I don't know where it is. It's probably in storage. Josiah says he hopes I really read this. Loving the content. You always put your all in your work. Keep it up. 100. Keep up the awesome work. Stay safe and hopeful, my guy. You too, Josiah. You've been at every live stream for the past week. I really appreciate you, dog. Past couple weeks, actually. So thank you very much, man. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about episodes 7 and 8. But as always, guys, I've decided to keep... Oh, JSL says, that is honestly just crazy. Such an iconic moment. Yeah, man, JSL, that's what I'm saying. Like, they probably would have swept him, but that one ripple in the universe allowed Jordan to have that iconic moment on Father's Day. It's freaking crazy, man. It's crazy. Straightaway says, I played camp in Big Dog Glenn Robinson in high school. Did you, Straightaway? That's crazy. I love Glenn Robinson. He was always like a good rating on the video games, and in my fantasy drafts, he was always just sitting there, and I used to always draft him. But now I want to talk about the shoe for today's episode. Every after show, we review an iconic Air Jordan sneaker, and today's Air Jordan is the Air Jordan 4s. Now, as you can see, these are kind of beaters for me, but this retro was not a good quality retro. This was a retro from 2013? Is that when these were retroed? I don't know. But the Air Jordan 4 was the first sneaker that I ever stood in line for. Yes. My local Foot Locker, which didn't get anything at all, they got a pair of the white cement 4s. And I remember being super nervous about it. I was like, am I going to get a pair? Like, is it going to sell out? Oh, how am I going to get it? And when I heard that my Foot Locker was going to get a pair, I went at midnight to the parking lot and I stood in line. And a bunch of other people showed up, and I was like, oh my God, other people are here. This is crazy. And this was when the retro craze was almost at its peak, man. I mean, I think a little after was the peak retro craze, but everyone was buying Jordans. Everyone was buying sneakers. And my little town in Maui, Hawaii, Lahaina, people were camping out for Jordans. Was crazy. Now, funny thing is, my Foot Locker only had one pair per size. One pair per size. So there was one size 10.5, or was it size 10? Well, these aren't the cements. These are a size 10, but I got the white cements in a 10.5 because I didn't know I had to go down half a size in the 4s because I had never had a pair of 4s. So I got the white cement 4s, and there was a guy who was a big time collector, and apparently everyone in line knew him as a big time collector, and I didn't know him. And he was like, what kind of shoes you got in your collection, man? And no matter what I would say, he would always come back with a better shoe. He'd be like, oh man, do you have these? And he was kind of an asshole. He was like, oh man, I got all this, you got that. That's nice too, but do you have these, man? Yeah, I paid about like $500 for them. I mean, he was stunned on me. He was definitely stunned on me. And I didn't realize why he was stunned on me until I picked up my shoes, and everyone told me that dude was a size 10.5. You just took his shoes. So you should have got there earlier. That's all I have to say. But I was the first one in line, baby. So it was pretty crazy. Leica came and camped out with me in the morning. She came in the morning and hung out with me. I picked up the shoes, and then I went home, checked out the shoes, and then I slept. I mean, if we go way back, let me see if we could go way back on my Instagram, because I know I have a photo on it. Instagram should let you sort it out. I have to scroll all the way back in time, man. But I have a photo of me copying The Air Jordan 4s. Way back when. I don't think we're ever gonna get there, guys. Because it's all that was like way back in the day. Yeah, man. I don't know if we're gonna get there. I'll work on it as I'm talking about the 4s. But yeah, this retro quality was booty. Look at the paint cracking on my midsole there. And look at, this was a huge problem. Look at that. The medial midsole would crack so much. I mean, this was really poor quality. And the white cements were not any better. That leather was as stiff as, I mean, it was so stiff. It was very, very uncomfortable. So yeah, the Jordan brand was definitely cashing in because they weren't using the best qualities whatsoever. Definitely not a quality inspired by the greatest athlete of all time by any circumstance. But the Jordan 4, originally released in 1989 for $110. They dropped in a fire red colorway, which I never really liked. In these recently as well when I'm going out grocery shopping. So yeah, man, Jordan 4s are, I love this shoe. I love Jordans, man. They're crazy. But yeah, they also originally released in the military blue colorway, which is one of my favorite colorways. And when they retroed that colorway, I almost got 2 pairs because the leather on that pair was so much better than the white cements. And I used those as beaters, guys. I'm telling you, I wore those things everywhere because they were actually comfortable. These are not that comfortable. The white cements, not that comfortable as well. So that's why I didn't pick up a lot of Jordans following this release because they just weren't that comfortable. They had this unique lacing system with the wings. Obviously, that's probably the standout feature alongside the mesh and, of course, the air bubble. But that was really an iconic feature for the Air Jordan 3. But this wing lace tip design really allowed the users to adjust the lacing system to their liking and personalize the lacing system however they wanted to. So that was pretty good. It was a lot lighter than the Air Jordan 3s. It was a lot more streamlined than the Jordan 3s. But initially, apparently, as I was researching, facts on the Jordan 4, apparently these weren't received well initially. Like, people didn't like the way they looked, but eventually over time, they ended up liking them. So I don't know. If you guys were around back when these dropped, what did you think about these initially? Or what did you think about these when you first saw them? Let me know what you think about that. Vinny's asking, did I ball in those? They look like they are more for fashion. I did not ball in these. I don't think I would ball in these. I don't think that would be kind to my ankles. But yeah, I wear these off the court, but man, the quality is just so bad on these. It's a real bummer. It's a real bummer. Didn't they retro these recently? Like, how's the quality on those guys? Let me know in the comments below because I would like to know how the quality lines up. I'm just looking in the back here. If you check this out, they're the military blues. I wore those everywhere, guys. Classics. This is old school. 391 weeks ago, this was posted. Oh my God, YouTube does that thing. Or Instagram does the thing where it sends me all the way back to the beginning. Oh my God. Anyways, I'll work on that, guys. Also, the Jordan 4, from a pop culture point of view, had an appearance in Do the Right Thing, the movie where that guy steps on the guy with the Jordan 4s, and they actually retroed that colorway, which I wanted to get that colorway, but there was so much hype on them. Actually, how much are those going for right now? Let's take a look at StockX. I gotta type it in. Oh, there's no ask on those. Yeah, but these ones, as you can see, it had the Rasta lace thing, the aglet or whatever you want to call that, and then it had the scuff mark on the top. Those are classic. I would love those, but why aren't they available on StockX? That's very interesting. But there's some dope colorways that weren't OGs of the 4s as well. I really like the Oreo colorway. The Cause colorway is dope as well. These are always dope. All black, basically. Murdered out. Those are crazy as well. Man, these are going for $1,000. No, thank you. The M&M colorway, 40 G's, baby. Oh my God, look at that. Pistons inspired colorway, very cool. This one, I had these, but I sold them. I got rid of them. Didn't need them anymore. I wore them a ton, though. I wore these in the rain. It was all leather, black, Oreo colorway with the speckles, super clean. I sold them for like $150. Right now, they're going for $240. I know it's probably a good deal. But yeah, love the Oreos. Here are the Fire Reds. Don't love the Fire Reds. I'm just not a huge fan of these. But man, they're going for a lot, actually. How much are the... Oh, I always like these. The Dornbeckers with the Superman logo. Those are dope. I like these. I really like these. Those are a lot, too. How much are the 20... Oh, yeah, 2019 retro. A size 10, 360. That's a lot. There's a bull market on these, though, guys. Retro Jordans are increasing in price a lot. But let me try to go to the Instagram here. Man, that's a bummer. Instagram does that where if I click on a photo and I click out of it, it goes all the way to the top. It's definitely weird. But let me see what the chat has to say. Still want to cop the Legend Blues. Oh, yeah, speaking of the Legend Blues, the first time they retroed the Jordan 4s, the Retro Plus colorways was the Columbia Blues and the Oreo. So those are like the first new retro colorways. And like I said, I love the Oreos. Josiah's asking if I could show my favorite Air Jordan sneaker of all time. Yeah, we'll do that in next week's episode. But I can't pull up the Instagram here, guys. It's absolutely bugging. Let's see what else you guys have to say. What about the Tattoo 4s? Oh, yeah, the Tattoo 4s. I don't like these as much. Those are pretty loud to me. Not a fan. These are loud to me. Not a fan of these. What is your favorite colorway of the Air Jordan 4s, guys? I like these. The Raptors, those aren't too bad either. Those are pretty good. But there's nothing like OG Jordan colorways, right? The OGs are what gets you. Those are the ones. The black lasers weren't bad, though. I like these. These cost a grip, too. Oh, my God. $7.99. Yeah. Jordan 4. Oh, I did have a pair of the Fire Red. Oh, no. What were they called? The Toro Jordan 4s. Yeah, I had 2 pairs of these, actually. And I think I let both of them go. I just got tired of them. But yeah, I had these. I remember these came out. I was like, I need to get those. All red. I need to get those. I need to get these. Absolutely. Maybe I still have these, actually, in storage. Why would I sell 2 pairs? I have no idea. But, JSL likes some Motorsport 4s. Yeah, those are dopes as well. White Cements. Yeah, those are dope. But there you guys have it. That was our iconic Jordan, Air Jordan for the Last Dance after show. We will be back following the finale next week, but stay tuned for the channel. The next video is going to be called The Worst Air Jordans Ever. Can't wait for you guys to see that video. I'm going to be talking about the worst Jordans of all time, the ones that he wore, because I think those are the Jordans that count. He wore 14 Jordans during his time with the Bulls. So that's going to be the next video. And then the next 2 videos is the top 10 best Air Jordans. We're going to be ranking the Jordans 1 through 14, top 10. But that means there's 4 sneakers that didn't make the list, and those are the worst Jordans ever. So stay tuned for that. I want to thank everybody in the chat straight away. Thanks so much for your contributions in the chat. Brian12, as always, my brother, it's great to see you. Josiah, everyone who joined the stream, thank you so much. Be sure to join us next week for the finale. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely epic. My name's Jaron. It's great having you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Oh, shout out to Maximo for the super chat. It means a lot, brother. I do not want to leave you out. Maximo Fine.